So we're hoping this isn't a trend that continues to grow. I'm going to the Krabby Patty instead. I protest. But as I look to my left, we play his theme song. Look at him. He's all phonompous. He's on his phone. I don't know if he's shutting off his phone or if he's phubbing us. Is he phone snubbing? He's a phubber. He's phone snubbing.
I don't know what that means.
It means you're phone snubbing us.
I love it. I'm calling people.
He's texting. He's candy crushing. And we welcome Mr. Bob Odenkirk, everybody.
What's going on, man? How are you? Pleasure.
Good to meet you.
Pleasure.
What's up, man?
How you doing?
How are you, man? What a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Does this song put a little tingle in the dingle, man, when you hear this stuff?
Yeah.
Right? Your
Yeah,
theme
how about
song.
that? Junior Brown, man. Do you guys know who Junior Brown is?
No, tell us about him.
He's playing that crazy guitar, which is called a git fiddle. He built it.
A git fiddle.
He built it.
That's pretty
It's
interesting.
an instrument that this guy made. And I forget what it looks like, but you
bullshitting
can look.
you. He's a good
No.
bullshitter.
Just the other day
Not
it was
only
Go ahead.
The person who told me about this
Git fiddle.
guy is David Cross, if you can believe, would like this music, but he loves Junior Brown. But he's like, you got to see this guy. Of course, David gets too excited about everything that he finds first.
The git fiddle, man. This song is where it's at right now. Bob Odenkirk on the CNR show. I'm excited to see Better Call Saul on DVD. I know you're excited about that. With Bob and Dave this Friday on Netflix. We're seeing the billboards. I got to ask you this. I mean, you're a guy who's been doing this a long time, but when you see your giant cabeza on the billboard here, do you still get excited about that?
It's crazy.
It's great,
and
right?
You know, it's when you got kids, and especially if they're teenagers, get a billboard near your house.
It evens the playing field?
You know what it does? It's just, there's a thing of like, your teenager really does look at you and go, who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah, and they're the coolest people around,
and
right?
if you can just drive by a billboard with your giant head once a day,
that's why
it makes you. I don't know if it impresses the child, but I know you go, no, that's who I am.
That's me.
Take a look.
Hey, when you get a billboard, then you can make your own decisions.
Right.
How old are you? You got two kids, right?
Yeah.
How old are they now?
They're 14 and 16, soon to be 15 and 17. Within 3 weeks, they'll both be getting older.
Two boys,
A boy and a girl.
Yeah. What do I have to look forward in my future? Is the girl more difficult than the boy for you?
It depends on the age. What do you have?
I have a 6-year-old
daughter. He has a daughter.
Oh, it's easy, man.
Yeah. Well, right now it's easy. Yeah.
Girls are easy. I mean, for a guy, and they're not easy for the mom.
Mom, yeah.
No, boys. I'm gonna tell you something. You have a boy, somewhere around the age of 4. Okay, not even that old. I remember looking at my son. He could walk, of course. He's been walking for 3 years, 2.5 years. And you look at him and you go, there's something about it. At around the age of 4, they start to want the things that they want in the house, and you go, I have a fucking roommate.
That's true.
Yeah. Wait. Not only do I have a roommate, my wife loves my roommate more than me.
More attention. Yeah. You know what I realized I realized that when I noticed like Melody, she starts opening the fridge and shit. I'm like, whoa. What are you taking out of there?
It's because the boy looks at you. I'm
Right.
telling you, like this. And it gives you a look like, shut up.
Right.
Like, who are you?
Wow.
He looks at you the same way you look at him. It's great. You love him. I love my son so much. But there is another guy in the house.
There's another guy.
Whereas with a girl, it's so fucking easy. All these guys who have 2 girls or whatever, 3 girls, and they're just the king, man. And they don't have to. There's things they don't have to do. They don't have that confrontational vibe ever. Because it's just girls.
And I feel like there's that bond between like father and daughter. That if you're a good guy, it's like my dad's great. I love my daddy.
That's the way to go.
Well, dude, let's start from the beginning. It's the first time on the show. It's the first time you're here. We're happy to have you here. We're big fans.
Thanks.
Can we go back to old school Bob Odenkirk?
Sure.
What were you all about growing up, man? Were you into sports? Were you into getting in trouble, playing in the street? Were you always into writing comedy?
I was always into writing comedy.
Really? Always?
Yeah.
As far back as you can remember?
It's weird. I mean, I used to write comedy sketches when I was like 9, 10. And I would sit down. I had this little typewriter that my mom gave me and just write little comedy sketches.
What was you thinking?
Record them on a little Panasonic cassette.
Were you thinking TV, comic strips,
Monty
Mad Magazine?
Somehow I saw in Mad Magazine. Yeah,
you were thinking that sort of thing.
I used to ride my bike to the Jewel Osco, which is a Chicago thing, and drugstore, and just sit there. And I would never buy Mad Magazine, but I would sit and read the whole thing cover to cover at the newsstand there in the drugstore. And so that's where it came from. I mean, honestly, my dad was a really funny guy. He was also an alcoholic. So that's not that funny. But he was really funny. He would make wisecracks that were so funny before he got kicked out of the house. So, I mean, there was, and my brother Bill is really funny. My brother Bill is a writer on The Simpsons.
Right, yeah.
And all the kids in my family are funny. And so we would do...
So you think maybe that was a way of impressing your dad, who was just naturally funny?
No, my dad was
then?
not around. So I wouldn't try to impress him because I never saw him. I don't know how he had 7 kids, because he had to come home
just came
for at least a few minutes every once a year. But it was a way to entertain my brothers and sisters. Dinner at our house was really fun.
You were one of 7?
7 kids. And we would stand up and during dinner stand up and do a show. And that's what, and make each other laugh and talk about people we saw that day, talk about a stupid teacher we had.
You're fighting for attention too, though, 7 kids, right?
But really, it was fun as hell. I mean, honestly, I'm not complaining. I was so happy when my dad got the hell out of there, because we just laughed our asses off.
It opened up another bed.
It was just great fun, and we had an audience. We had all these little kids watching us, and we had a great time. And then I would write sketches for class it would be a project, like instead of a book review, I would do like a sketch, and they would go over well. Wow. And so, that's where it all came from. But I love Monty Python, and I love the show. And I haven't seen it since. I heard it does not age well. But there was a show called The Goodies. Did you ever hear of that show? No, I don't remember that. It was actually guys who were contemporaries of Monty Python, and they actually did shows in Cambridge together and theater shows. And this is very inside comedy shit. But they did a show called The Goodies, and that played on public TV. But Monty Python, The Goodies.
Why not Benny Hill? Why doesn't he get that love?
Now listen. Dad, I was talking about my dad. He loved hee-haw.
Okay.
He grew up in the South for a while, and he loved hee-haw, and he loved Benny Hill. Now, we love Benny Hill, too. Now, Benny Hill...
Cheap thrills for Benny
Hill.
Cheap
thrills, right? But God damn it, when he slaps that old man on the head. Come on, man. No, come on.
Everyone thinks about Monty Python, and I get it. And we went on a whole tribute the other day. Like, we feel like our first boner moments, our first cheap thrills, our first, funny growing up was watching our parents watch Benny Hill.
I am not going to vouch for hee-haw. I am not. But I watched it. But Benny Hill made me laugh.
Benny Hill was hilarious.
I like Python more, but I like Benny Hill. I watched Dave Allen at Large. Do you know Dave Allen at Large? That was another British show that came over here. Marty Feldman had a show that ran for a while. Do you know Marty Feldman?
Yeah, so
Young Frankenstein.
Of course, the crazy
eyes. He had a
eyes.
show, and a really funny guy. And so a lot of this British humor, but I watched, I don't know. I watched a lot of Benny Hill.
When you were in school,
Three Stooges too.
When you were in school, I'm guessing, did you love the reaction of the laughs from the classmates? Were you the kid that the teacher would say, like, Bobby, settle down? And
I was a kid who would get told to quiet down, but the teacher would laugh, and I would get decent grades.
Right.
I only had one teacher call my mom in, the German teacher.
What'd you do?
She was a meek. I was just goofing around a lot.
You took German?
Yeah, I did. I goofed around.
Sprechen Sie Deutsch?
Well, that's the only thing I remember, and I use it all the time.
Yes.
I still say all kinds of stuff to my kids with Sprechen Sie Deutsch.
Sie Deutsch. Oh, my God. So Bob Odenkirk is here. So you got in trouble just once here and there.
One time, one teacher couldn't take it. It was too much for her. But otherwise, I was a good student, and I goofed around a lot. And the teachers kind of let me.
Well, they saw
I
your
think
talent.
they figured I was kind of smart, funny, and also I did my homework.
The students that were like that, the teachers acknowledged. I mean, thinking back, right? I mean, the teachers would give those kids sort of a free pass to be a little fun and have fun.
Absolutely,
It was
I
like
got a free pass.
Yeah,
I
it was
got
like
a
the
free
loser
pass
kids
from
in.
everybody, except I did get a D. My chemistry teacher was Mr. Merrick, Lee Merrick, who used to be on the Letterman show. Do you remember the chemistry teacher who would come on Letterman and do crazy experiments? He came on fairly often.
I remember the kids doing.
He was on.
experiments
He
all
was
the time.
probably on 15 times over the years.
And that was your
And
teacher?
that was my chemistry teacher. He was a really entertaining guy.
Right.
But he loved what I did, and he would let me goof around. But then he would give me a D. I mean, he didn't
Right. He
mess
never
around
failed
with
you.
the grades.
So what happened? Did you gravitate toward the stage then because you
You
were
know what it
doing comedy?
was?
Like, were you
I
in the
grew up in
plays and shit?
Naperville, Illinois, and the idea of being in show business. I don't. Where are you guys from?
From New Jersey.
Grew up on Long Island.
So the idea of being in show business was crazy to me as a kid. It was nothing I would imagine. So I wrote comedy and did comedy and performed, and only in college did it occur to me that maybe what I do is what a professional does.
Didn't you get involved in radio somehow?
I
or
was
something?
in radio. That's what I did.
How did that happen? You just
Well,
stumbled across the
it was
studio?
an outlet for performing. I did a comedy show called The Primetime Special that was on at midnight on a Thursday night. And it was very much like Mr. Show. David Cross also did a show called Cross Comedy that was very much like Mr. Show. So when we met, David and I, after the Ben Stiller show, David wrote on the Ben Stiller show, but I suppose you would think we met on that show, but we didn't because I just treated him like dirt. He was like this guy who came in and I wasn't listening to him and I was really rude to him, but whatever. When we first started actually listening to each other, we immediately pitched to each other the same show that became Mr. Show, which was a sketch show, and the sketches bleed into each other, and maybe there's some kind of inertia to it because we love Monty Python. And with sketches, there's this thing of like, I still think a great sketch is the hardest thing to write and one of the greatest things to watch. A sketch with a beginning, middle, and end.
Right.
Like, just one of my favorite things is that Eric Idle Say No More bit. Say no more, say no more. The guy who's like innuendo, it's all innuendo about sex. Do you know this bit?
No,
anyway,
I don't know if
type in Eric Idle, Say No More.
I was going to lie to you, Bob, but I didn't want to.
But it has an ending. It has an ending. It has a great button on it. And so I still love that stuff. But at the same time, if you can bleed one sketch into another and just keep the energy going, it's a great, fun thing. And it's hard to do. It's hard to get an outlet that'll let you do it. We used to be on HBO.
Yeah, I was saying. So how do you and Dave get on HBO then? Was it just a great pitch? Did you have the right connects
No,
there?
it was cool people at HBO. Carolyn Strauss and Chris Albrecht, who Carolyn's still there doing Game of Thrones. But those were the executives, and they had a certain amount of freedom because HBO at the time was just rerun movies.
Right.
That's really what it was.
So you call him Mr. Show. Was it your SNL stuff that gave you some clout, though, to get in that room to push that
HBO
forward?
produced the Ben Stiller show.
Okay.
So
All right,
it was
there's
because of the
connect.
Ben Stiller show that they'd watched and produced, and they knew I think I was an effective writer there, an important writer at the Stiller show. The one episode we won the Emmy for, the Ben Stiller show won the Emmy for, I'd written 3 of the 5 sketches.
Do you get an Emmy for that, by the way?
I
If the
did,
show
yeah.
wins, you have the Emmy.
As a
too.
writer, if you win for writing, you get the Emmy.
Okay,
Yeah, you
so
get
that's
an Emmy.
cool.
Yeah.
So hold on, we're missing a part of the story. Before he gets to Mr. Show, he's a writer for SNL. But from my understanding, you have all these legendary sketches.
Yeah.
But you're not really getting the credit for them. Was there a part of you that wanted that sort of credit, or no?
No, I don't.
Really, there was no drive to be the star.
No, I like performing.
You did.
I mean, here's the thing. There's no drive. I don't think there's a drive. There's no resentment. I mean, I wrote at SNL. I wrote the motivational speaker, right?
Matt
but
Foley.
I'm not watching Chris Farley going, "Get out of the way, let me do that." I'm
Right.
like, he's so great. I'm so happy to watch him do it. I mean, my daughter once asked me, "What's the most fun you ever had doing sketch or doing showbiz?" And I said, without question, it was on stage at Second City, watching Chris Farley from on stage do the motivational speaker. That was pure orgasmic comedy joy the whole time, every time.
When you're on SNL and you're writing stuff like Matt Foley, motivational speaker, and you're doing these bits, a lot of times week to week, there's certain bits that are home runs and others that fall flat.
Well, the hardest thing about SNL as a writer is you do it so fast. There's no rehearsal. There's no texture to it. You don't get to go like, try it this way and try it that, and let's rewrite it and let's make it better. So SNL is like a sporting event. The problem when people are so judgmental of SNL, it's like I think that you've got to stop looking at it as an artistic endeavor, and you have to start looking at it as a sporting event and it's a competition. It's a group of people, a team, and they're competing against not being funny. That's the other team. The team of people, and the other team is not being funny. And so if they're funny, then they score a point. And so it's this battle.
How does that politics work? Actually, as a writer, I'm curious. Again, Bob Odenkirk here on the Covino and Rich Show. He worked alongside Smigel and Conan O'Brien from 87 to 91, worked with Sandler and Spade, Chris Rock and Farley. When you're the guy writing the bits, what's your connection to the performers? Like, do they want you to write for them, or do you have them in mind? Like, do they have to stroke you to get the good bit?
No, if you're smart, you're really working for them. Okay. And the thing is, I love sketch comedy, and I'm kind of a purist, so I want the sketch to be the star. But really, with Saturday Night Live, if you're smart, you know that the actors are the stars, and you need that performance quality. The performance fun is worth way more than the smart sketch idea and the wonderful execution. In the end, get a riff going with somebody that's really funny, that gets that live audience going, and just go that direction. But so then you want to do something like Mr. Show. You leave SNL and you're like, I still have never done that great sketch show where what matters is the idea of the sketch and the construction. And so then you have this great desire to do a pure sketch show. Whatever. I'm a fucking nerd. No, I can't help it. But I'm sorry.
I love that you love the sketch comedy. We recently talked about the difference between stand-up and improv and sketch comedy and how some people have it and some people don't. And I'm guessing, when was it when you realized that, listen, it wasn't when you finally were on SNL.
When I was on SNL.
When you were younger, you said when you left the small town, you said, maybe I got this, because you could go see people do stand-up or improv, and I feel like you could work at it, but some people just don't have it and some people have it.
Well, I've worked at stand-up for years and I don't have it.
But you acknowledge that, though? You know
totally.
That sketch comedy is
your place. But I knew that
place.
Years ago. I knew that 3-4 years into writing comedy, writing funny lines and trying to do stand-up. And I still do stand-up whenever I have the time, but I'm never going to be good at it.
What's the motivator then? To be good at it?
Well, no, the motivator with stand-up is you get to stand up in front of an audience and say your jokes, and you hopefully get some laughs. It's it's an immediate reward. So
fucking scary.
And that's fun.
By the way, Rich just killed it at the Comedy Store this past weekend.
It's daunting. It's crazy. It's weird to get up there and because you don't know ever. Whatever you say up there, you're like, I hope someone likes it.
It's scary as hell, and that's you get some laughter just off the fear factor. But yeah, I mean, I'll never be good at stand-up because with stand-up you really need to have this kind of very honed persona. And I just don't have that.
But maybe now.
I do all these different things, and it's who I'll always be.
Yeah, but you're Saul Goodman now, Bob Odenkirk. Maybe you
Better
get some
Call Saul.
Yeah, maybe you get some other, more laughs as a result. Who knows?
Let me ask you this, because you are the star of a show that we love, Better Call Saul, Breaking Bad, the huge success of that. When you're
James McGill.
When you're doing everything from Roseanne to Seinfeld to Everybody Loves Raymond, and these are people that are, at the time, these are the biggest sitcoms there are. Seinfeld, Roseanne, Raymond. Are you looking at some of those, like Ray Romano? Do you look at a guy like him or a woman like Roseanne and say, yeah, just wait until I have the chance to be the main guy? Or are you fitting in saying, hey, I'm happy to just be on their show? Or did you know there was just going to be a moment that you were waiting for your Breaking Bad and Saul?
No, I didn't know anything.
Really?
You're just trying to get work in show business and happy to have those jobs. And those people are so great at what they do. I think there's the only thing I would say that addresses your question is, I remember being on stage at Second City with Chris Farley and thinking, okay, so I love sketch comedy. I love writing it. I love the form. It makes me laugh so much. It makes me so happy. But if I'm sitting in that audience, and I'm on stage thinking this, but if I'm sitting in that audience, I'm not watching me. I'm watching that guy who is so much fun to watch. So if that's the case, what is my place as a performer? And I remember thinking I should be on a dramatic stage. I'd probably be a lot of fun to watch in that context. But of course, I'm not going to pursue it because I love this other thing so much and I'm fairly good at it. So why not just keep doing it? And then in the end, I just got lucky, and people like Vince Gilligan, who created Breaking Bad, or Alexander Payne, these guys, for some reason, saw me in Mr. Show and the things that I did and thought, I think the same thing, which is, okay, that guy is like funny, but he's kind of got a complicated energy. Whenever he's talking, it's like, what is he really saying?
But
and that works for drama. That works for drama.
Because I feel
in
like
drama, you should be watching people going, okay, I think he says what he wants, but he might want something else, and that's intriguing to watch, right? In that context.
Absolutely, in that context.
Whereas in sketch comedy, you kind of don't want intrigue. You want like simple hilarity,
you want
wonderfulness.
Chris Farley, yeah.
Farley, Farrell, even David Cross, I think they're just so much fun to watch. I mean, that one sketch that we released early for With Bob and David called Know Your Rights. You can watch it online. David is so funny in that, and he anchors that sketch so well. You just know immediately, like within 5 seconds of him talking, you know who that character is. You know he's this annoying hippie asshole who's going to try to trip up the cops, you know, and really that sketch is called Know Your Rights. It should be called Reasonable Cop, because it's really about what if this asshole runs into the worst thing he can think of, which is a reasonable police officer, which there are way more reasonable cops than there are asshole cops.
I say that all the time. I'm glad you say that. Bob Odenkirk is here, and, you know, you know what I love about the story? I love that it's just a matter of, you know, I'm sure you were bummed when Mr. Show stopped airing and whatever, and you were like, fuck, it was better. I wish we got more credit, that sort of thing. But I know it had a big following and a cult following. But then Vince Gilligan knows you from that, and it pays off in the end. So you never know who's listening, who's noticing, who's watching. And we never knew that you listened to our show.
Well, that's
and you
the
heard
key
our
to
show.
Show business.
Yeah. So you never know who's listening.
The secret to show business is don't die.
Don't die.
Just don't die.
Yeah.
Just do
Spot,
it.
get that quote out. Get that quote out there, Spot.
Do your best work that you can do, and then don't die.
And don't die.
So try to avoid the heroines and the too much alcohol, and smoking is bad for you.
Was that one of the saddest moments for you, losing Chris Farley as a friend? Or were you guys tight, or more just had a good work relationship?
It was somewhere in between.
Yeah.
You know, there was real love there. You know, I mean, I think almost anybody who met Chris felt a great deal of affection for him. He was a very lovable guy. But Chris and I obviously connected, and writing that character for him, you know, was a strong interaction. I mean, I just loved the guy. And so it was somewhere in between. We didn't hang out all day, for sure. He had closer friends. But, you know, I just felt a great love for him and his abilities. There were so many things that are sad about that. I mean, one of the saddest things is that, and this little movie that they made, this documentary, I think is called I Am Chris Farley. I think I didn't see it. I haven't seen it yet. I guess one of the things, the impetus is for making that was to try to show people something that everybody knew who knew Chris, which is that you didn't get to see how great he could be. Even with all the fun stuff he did, there's just the least little bit of how wonderful he was as an actor was shown to the audience. And if he'd lived, and if he'd gotten a chance to do some of the more interesting, challenging things, of course, I guess Mamet was writing a movie about Fatty Arbuckle that would have been, you know, I mean, there would have been opportunities for Chris to show. everybody. What a wonderful actor he could be.
Bob, you've worked with everybody from Chris Farley to Ray Romano to Bryan Cranston. Who else is in that list that just totally amazed you? Bryan Cranston?
I mean, Bryan Cranston, Aaron Paul, on this new show, Better Call Saul, I got to tell you, Michael McKean.
How great is he?
We had him on.
He's a great guy.
Jonathan Banks.
You know, John Banks, of course.
We had him on our show to promote it. It was insane. It was great to have him on.
McKean is doing crazy, outstanding
Chuck
work.
McGill, man.
Yeah.
Chuck McGill.
And people talk about that first season and that second to last episode, the 9th episode, where me and Chuck have our showdown. But, I mean, McKean, right from the get-go, is a crazy, wonderful, deep, delicate, scary, intense characterization, and he should get some more attention. But I don't know who else is in that list of amazing people. I mean, shoot, I love Chris, and Dana Carvey is one of the funniest guys. I know people love Dana, but he still should be out there.
Well, dude, we're big fans of you, man. We're so glad that you're here finally on the show.
We're bummed that we got to go now.
We're wrapping up. We're out of time.
Thanks for having me.
But with Bob and Dave this Friday on Netflix, check it out. And Better Call Saul the next season in February, right?
Yeah.
And on DVD. So check it out, guys. Mr. Bob Odenkirk, everybody.
Thanks for having me.